Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. My name is Scott Morgan, off the Motor City Madmouth. Pleased to be joined by my crew tonight, Jordan Long. Welcome back, Jordan.
Thanks for having me, Scott.
You're very welcome. Smoking Jeremy B. Ready to talk some
Always ready to talk sports. I don't care.
boy, that's his company's spirit. And George Eichhorn.
Oh, yeah, I'm here from Motown, live on the D.
Yeah. Well, folks, tonight's show obviously is about the MLB trade deadline. I've gone over maybe 5 or 6 points, and then I'll let my crew decide if they want to add a few additional ones to go with it. So, without further delay, we're going to talk about Justin Verlander back to the Astros. The Mets received outfielder Drew Gilbert, Houston's top prospect, and outfielder Ryan Clifford, ranked fourth in Houston's system. Verlander got his 250th win recently against the Washington Nationals. All right, I'm going to go right to left all night. Okay. Jordan, what are your thoughts about Verlander returning to Houston?
Honestly, it made sense. I mean, he won 21 games last year, and the thing is let's be honest, the Mets weren't going anywhere. But what surprised me is that the Astros didn't try. I mean, I know they tried to sign him in the offseason, but he went to obviously the Mets. But now he's back where he has a chance to win another World Series. I think, honestly, it was a win-win for both teams. Mets were looking to sell, and of course, Verlander's looking to chase another ring. So I think it makes sense that he goes back to Houston, has a chance to win another ring, and that's all you wanted, is another chance to do something special in the postseason.
All right, Jeremy.
This is a major win for the Astros, really, because the Mets are picking up almost 75% of his contract total with the $35 million over the next 2 years, plus whatever they cover. Didn't they cover like over 60% of it this year? So, yeah, in a way, to me, the Mets lost on this deal. Then the Astros got a huge win in the short term.
George?
Yeah, I'm not only that, but the Scherzer situation, boy, oh boy.
Well, we'll get to that in a moment.
Yeah. But as far as JV goes, it's just quite surprising to me, only because I knew he, signed that deal with the Mets, and I thought he'd be a Mets player till he retires. But you guys are right, Jordan. You're right. They sniffed that second or third World Series win, whatever. They obviously won another one, Houston, and they went all out. But I'm telling you that JV still got a lot of good stuff in him. He's still a great pitcher, and I think it will be a win-win because they gave up some good prospects in sending him to the Mets.
Yeah, the way I look at it, first of all, we have a Mets fan, Mike Arengo, out here. So let's talk some Mets and opinions. That's exactly what we're doing. Stevecohen learned the hard way. You can't buy a championship, and obviously all that money. Of course, they created a luxury tax after him either, but I don't think after this experience he's going to sniff it after this. But here's another thing, too. I was telling my wife, Candy, that I believed that Verlander was going to wind up with Houston. He did. But think of it this way, okay? The Mets probably didn't want to trade him to the Dodgers in the National League either. So by switching leagues, they may only have to face,
Yeah.
the
you face him,
Face him when he's clutch.
Yeah, right. 3 times. So I don't know. No, I thought Houston was a natural fit all along, but they didn't want to trade him to the Dodgers. They really didn't. In the same league, the National League? Okay. All right, George, you're skipping ahead of us, so now we'll go right to it. We'll talk about Max Scherzer, but again, we'll start with Jordan. Traded the Texas Rangers in exchange for outfielder prospect Luis Angel Acuna, the younger brother of Atlanta Braves superstar Ronald Acuna Jr. All right, Jordan, your takes on this?
I honestly think it's a great move for the Rangers, a team that is young, that's looking to go to the postseason, and you bring in Max Scherzer, a veteran, pitcher who's going to help that starting rotation. I honestly even told Megan Price, who is part of Three Chicks in a Pod, I even said it was a great move because of the fact that you know what Max Scherzer is going to do. He's going to come in there. He's going to throw strikes. He's not going to let many runs in. And, of course, the Rangers are in a win-now mode for the season. So I honestly like the deal because now the Rangers are thinking not only the postseason, they're thinking we want to advance further.
Well, not only that, if you take into consideration that they have Bruce Bochy as their manager. This guy knows how to deal with veteran pitchers. Go ahead,
Mhm.
Jeremy.
Hey, I agree. It's a great move for the Rangers. I mean, Scherzer has been great ever since he was a Tiger, and he's remained great. He continues to throw strikes and get guys out, and that's what they need to be able to go forward into the playoffs.
Okay, George.
Yeah, I'm always been in Mac's corner for former Detroit Tiger, just like JV. I miss those guys not being here anymore, but no, the Rangers are going for it all. I mean, they and Baltimore and some other teams, are shooting for the World Series, of course. Tampa. I just think that it's going to be a really, really fun down the stretch because I tell you what, those two Texas teams, they're really a lot of hate and one-upmanship. And of course, we know the Rangers have never won a World Series.
Right.
They tried with Ron Washington as their manager, had some good teams back then, some good rivalries with Detroit back then. But as far as Max goes, no, I wasn't surprised, and I really think that like you guys are saying, that's an upside for the Rangers. That being said, Steve Lewis, he just learned a lesson. Don't think you can buy a team, okay? That doesn't work.
Yeah, I'll point out one last thing about the whole thing. The Mets thought that they were able to get rid of Jacob DeGrom. Well, Jacob DeGrom has been injury prone since he went to Texas as well. So before I go any further, I just want to let everybody know that 108 Stitches Baseball Talk is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of the 108 Stitches Baseball Talk can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? One way to do it through the chat room. The other way is send your topic ideas to South Florida Tribune at gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website is www.com. Find us at Twitter at Tribune South. Candy Ebling is behind the scenes. Coming up later this summer, the Motor City Mad Mouth show will be debuting in the Eagle Corp Media Studios in Boca Raton, Florida, owned by Dr. Edwin Hernandez. We'll keep you posted. The Eagle Corp is a technology-based company, and I am making some really good progress on my upcoming book, Adjusting to New Media, so stay tuned. I'll let everybody knows when it is finally released. All right. Off to the Chicago Cubs. Acquired third baseman Jeimercandelario and cash considerations from the Washington Nationals for prospects DJ Hertz and Kevin Made. Candelario is set to become a hit free agency after the 2023 campaign. Made is the number 14 prospect for the Cubs and Hertz number 16. Okay, Jordan.
You look at the Cubs. I mean, they're not really. I mean, they're in the thick of the National League Central Division race. I mean, they're only 5 games back of the Reds, 53 and 53. I know Tom Ricketts said they would be, buyers, but they didn't really do much. They got this one guy you were talking about, third baseman, who, like you said, Scott, it's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. So it's really, you're getting him for less than half the season. If he does well, great. But in the end, I think the Cubs are just looking at it as, we're trying to make a push to the postseason. If it doesn't work, hey, it's great. If it doesn't work, we didn't want to make any other major moves. So I get it, but at the same time, I would have liked to see the Cubs do more.
Yeah, amazingly enough, and you just said it, Jordan. Okay, the guy's a rental. Is it? Jeremy?
Well, yeah, it's a rental player, but if you look at it in hindsight, the way Jeimer's been playing this year for the Nationals, the Tigers probably shouldn't have let him go. He was a big reason why they beat up on the Tigers while they were in town. So, he's actually having a decent season. It's a rental player to improve their status there in the Central, and it gives them a chance to, because now they got a third baseman that has a little pop to his bat.
Okay. George?
Yeah, I got the privilege of seeing Jeimer play, the last several years in Detroit. And, he's a fair to good third baseman as a defender. He does have some pop in his bat. You're right, Jeremy. And in fact, he led the Tigers, in a lot of power stats the last 2 years. And I'm like you, I was shaking my head too, that some of these moves that the Tigers made, and that one included. All that being said, I'm with you, Jordan. I mean, it's a good move for the Cubs, but it's not one that's going to be a contender for the World Series. Yeah, it'll help you as a contender in the division, which Milwaukee I still think is the favorite. But it's lacking. Like you said, they should have made more moves if the Cubs were wise. They should have went after some more pitching. There are other things they could have done. But I've always been a Jeimercandelario fan. But you'll get a good bat out of him.
Well, let's face reality. If the Cubs really want him bad enough, they'll sign him. They don't really worry about. They don't nickel and dime anybody. If they have a player, they got the Ricketts family will definitely have the ability to retain him. So
that's true.
All right, off to a couple of guys that good old Jordan Long is all too familiar with, and we had to throw a Denver reference in only because of you, Jordan. Okay, Randallgrichuk is excited for his Angels debut. He says never thought it would take this long, and he's talking about 14 years later. The Angels selected him in the first round of the 2009 MLB draft, one pick before Mike Trout. cjcron also went to the Angels in a 4-player deal. Well, what can you say? 14 years is better late than never, isn't it, Jordan?
It is. I mean, if you look at the Colorado Rockies right now, they are way down last in the National League. I mean, they're 42-64. I was not surprised that they went ahead and did the deal. They got rid of cjcron, who's hitting .260 for the Rockies this year, and then you look at Grichuk, who's at .307. So they got rid of some offense, but in the end, Grichuk and Crow now have a chance to be on a winning team. I don't know if the Angels are going to make the postseason, but at least if they're in a better position, that's all you want is a chance. And for the Rockies, we're rebuilding. I kind of wish we would have gotten rid of more people, but in the end, though, at least you got rid of something, even if it was just a couple of prospects. But in the end, good for cjcron and Randallgrichuk to get out of Denver for a chance to actually go to the postseason. That's all you want.
Jordan already said some, so let's go to the other Jeremy.
Right, 14 years. You know who that reminds me of? There was a Tiger that spent a long time in the minors that finally got a call up. Mike Henneman. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
When he finally got called up, he was bombing the ball in single A, double A, and triple A. And when he got to the Tigers, I think all the bombs went out of his bat because they waited too long to bring him up. I mean, it was a conversation every year at spring training. When is this guy going to come up? He's hitting 30 home runs. He's hitting 40 home runs in shorter seasons than they did in the MLB. And when he finally came up, he was barely able to get hits with guys on base.
Okay. George?
Well, Colorado, like you said, Jordan, I mean, there's so many things that have gone wrong. And obviously that franchise has suffered for many, many years now. We all know what a great ballpark that is for hitters. So I'm telling you, this could work out fine for Colorado. I'm hoping they turn things around. I mean, you guys have been long-suffering fans for a long time, just like in Detroit and cities like that. But one move again, no, it's going to take a series of moves by these general managers or president of baseball ops. They got to make a series of moves. It's like a chess game, guys. It's like a big chess match. I'll put this guy here. I'll take that guy there. It goes back what Jeremy said earlier about Candelario. What was the plan for Detroit? They had nobody to take over third base full time. So they made all these moves in the offseason, cut a lot of guys. The Castro brothers, they got rid of Willie. And, anyways, but I digress. But Colorado, yeah. I mean, it's a good move for the Rockies.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? Let's go to the Detroit Tigers. The Detroit Tigers are trading right-handed pitcher, all-star Michaellorenzen to the Dave Dombrowski general manager, Philadelphia Phillies, for infield prospect haoyulee, who's only 20 years of age. And according to Chris McCoskey of the Detroit News, Lee is the Phillies' number 5 ranked prospect, according to MLB.com. All right. Well, go ahead, Jordan.
It was an interesting trade just because the Tigers aren't going anywhere. The Phillies, again, they're a team where are they in the thick of the race? Yes, they are right now, but where will they be, a week or two from now? I mean, they stand at 57 and 49. That's going to be good enough to probably get a wild card spot. Again, this is a spot, I should say. Again, this is a trade that they want to the Phillies standpoint, they want to go back to the World Series. It's a trade that may help them go far in the postseason.
Jeremy.
Well, considering you only carry 4 starters, they can move him to that mid-reliever spot that he did so well for the Tigers before he became a starter. And then it essentially could even give them a 5th starter without putting them in the starting rotation. If you got 5 starters in a 7-game series, the other team's in trouble.
Okay. George?
Yeah, that's a good point you made, Jeremy. And yeah, his history was a relief pitcher for all those years. And from what I understand, the Detroit coaches worked with him real closely. By far, this is one of his best seasons he's had. He was the all-star rep for Detroit. They took away, they told him, you got too many pitches. He had like 6 or 7 pitches. So they eliminated a couple of his repertoire pitches. And Lorenzen's done well. He's done very well. I think it's a very smart move. They picked up a good fella. The Tigers, again, dealing with Dombrowski. They dealt with him earlier. Remember when they got Gregory Soto from Detroit in the bullpen, and Detroit turned out pretty good. Well, Matan is not doing so well, but the outfielder, he's doing really good that Detroit picked up. But I'm telling you that Lorenzen, this is a good kid. And like Jeremy says, that gives you depth. That gives you depth on your starting staff. And even if you go with only 3 or 4 guys in the postseason, you got Michael coming out of the bullpen. If you do it that way, that's another smart move. But yeah, the Phillies obviously want to get back there. And, I don't think they will, but they still got a chance.
Okay, let's talk about a couple moves that didn't get made. Shoheiohtani stayed. Jordan, does that surprise you?
That didn't surprise me. I mean, there were so many rumblings of where he was going to go. I'm sure teams called, but the price was too high. At the end of the day, he's going to be a free agent, and he's going to be able to go anywhere he wants. But I'm not surprised the Angels didn't trade him.
In fact, what's interesting about what you just said is I'm not surprised they didn't trade him, and the fact that the Angels look more like buyers than sellers to try to take a run for it. So I don't know what kind of a message it's going to send to Shoheiohtani, but it's going to say the message that we're not throwing in the towel anyways. All right, Jeremy?
We all knew Shoheiohtani wasn't going to go anywhere this season because nobody has the cap room. Even though it's a soft cap, nobody wants to pay the luxury tax for that guy. And I think they're all idiots. You're talking about a 15 to 20 game winner, a guy that's going to throw 175 to 300 strikeouts and hit you 40 bombs while batting 300. If I was any GM, I'd have given up 1st-round picks and my top prospect from the team to get him right now, and then have the chance to negotiate him into a 5 to 10 year deal after at that $60 million a year he'll deserve.
George?
Well, yeah, Jeremy, you made a good point. I mean, there's a lot of teams out there that could have been obviously active in the sweepstakes for Ohtani. I think the Angels, like you're saying, Jordan, they still think they got a good shot at it. They still want to make a run for it. Yeah, that's fine, but you might end up with nothing at the end of the year. Of course, he's had a great career with your club, but if you don't re-sign him, then you got nothing for him, nothing at all. That's what Jeremy was getting at. When you would have got a top draft choice or a top everyday player, who knows what would have been dangled in front of the Angels brass. That being said, oh my gosh, what a sweepstakes it's going to be for signing him in this offseason. And it's going to be, again, the teams that can afford it and the teams that have the money, and which narrows your field a little bit. But we've talked about that on previous shows. So, but no, I wasn't surprised, Scott. I think that the Angels, pulled back and just said, let's ride it see where we can take this into the postseason, or at least a wild card round if they can make it.
Well, not only that, like I just alluded to before, that they're acting like buyers, picking up some of these trades, making these trades that we talked about. I should point out one thing before the trade deadline. That to me, it looked like the New York Yankees were open to trading players on expiring deals. So, and obviously, they look like potential sellers, but that did not become the case, Jordan, did it?
No, it didn't. It's surprising. But this is what the Yankees do, is they want to stick with their team. I'm sure they're going to get rid of people once the season ends, but at 55 and 51, 10 games out of first place behind the Orioles, it's a surprise that they didn't just sell off and say, hey, we're going to get rid of talent, we're going to start over. But this is what the Yankees do, is they keep talent around, and there is a possibility that once the offseason starts, they'll get rid of people, but I really thought they would be sellers.
Well, you, Jeremy?
I never thought they'd be sellers. Their goal is to get to the postseason every year. So they're not trying to sell. What they were looking for was the proper buying price to get that extra piece they needed, and they couldn't find it. So therefore, you know what's going to happen? They're going to get to the postseason. They're going to lose in the wild card again, and Aaron Boone should be on the unemployment line, and Steinbrenner Jr. should call Don Mattingly, and be done with it. Get him in there.
Great stuff, Jeremy. All right, George.
Yeah, I don't know what they were looking for, the Yankees, their brass. I mean, they're looking for on the cheap getting some players, but that lineup, they just cannot contend. I mean, Baltimore's running away, and there's other reasons. We know Judge has missed so much of the season with his injury. But yeah, there's going to be a whole lot of changes with the Yankees if they lay an egg and don't even qualify, like you said, Jeremy, for at least the wild card position. So I don't know. I thought they should have been more active too, but I don't know. They're holding back. They're very loyal to some of these players, but they gotta really look themselves in the face and make some serious roster changes, the Yankees, next offseason.
Yeah, I think the one thing that would have been weird is if both New York teams are sellers in the same year. That would have been the most strangest thing.
Laughing.
I think a lot of people would. To think the Yankees and the Mets would be sellers, that's unheard of. All right, well.
The Yankees and the Yets.
Yeah, that's whatever you want.
Yet to win it again.
Okay. The one guy that could have been traded wasn't going to allow himself to be traded was Eduardo Rodriguez, who vetoed a trade with the LA Dodgers. Okay, Jordan, some thoughts on that?
It's a little surprising just because of what Araujo means. But you look at the Dodgers, they're a team that, again, they're trying to make the postseason. They were thinking, oh, we're going to get this guy. But he said no. Honestly, I don't blame him. He wants to stick where he's playing right now. And the thing is, the Dodgers are going to be fine. But it is still surprising that he didn't want to go to a team that's in the thick of the playoff race at this point.
Okay. Jeremy?
Well, for the last 3 weeks, the media has been talking to him about wanting to be traded. And he said he didn't want to go anywhere. And with a no trade clause and the player option next year to stay in Detroit, guess what? He's going to stay right where he's at, just like he said the last 2 weeks in a row.
George?
Yeah, the list, I guess, I don't know. I think I heard somebody say about 10 teams, and the Dodgers are one of them. He doesn't want to go on the West Coast. His family wants to stay on the East Coast and, in the Midwest here with Detroit. So he does have that option. That is kind of scary because as far as the Tigers go, because he can walk away. But that being said, I think he really likes it here. He's indicated to the media and the fans that he really likes it in Detroit. He's done a heck of a job. He's pitched really good this year, despite some injury time that he's had. Am I surprised? Yes and no. I mean, yes, I'm surprised because, the Dodgers are right in the thick of it to get the World Series ring. And obviously Detroit is far, far away from that. So that part did surprise me. But as a fan, I'm glad he stayed.
Well, as Dick Vitale used to say, you can't buy happiness. So
Yeah,
you're happy to stay put. So we'll go from there. All right. Parting shots. Jordan, you have any?
I do. So I'm going to go into the NFL. Of course, we know Nathaniel Hackett was fired after not even one full season with the Denver Broncos. He went 4-11. Like I said, didn't even last the season. Well, new head coach Sean Payton even said on Hackett, quote, "It might have been one of the worst coaching jobs in the history of the NFL." It's really hard to argue this one because Denver went 4-11 with Nathaniel Hackett. Like I said, Hackett didn't even last the season. He had so many problems as head coach. He decided to attempt a 64-yard field goal by Brandon McManus in week 1 against Seattle that was no good when they could have gotten the first down to make it easier on Brandon McManus. He even needed a babysitter to help him do play calls, and that was Jerry Rosberg. Also, the crowd and the noise counted down the play clock because we were frustrated with Russell Wilson. It may have been the worst coaching jobs in the history of the NFL. Peyton, though, he shouldn't have said what he said, but he did. Now, week 5, the Broncos do play the New York Jets, and Nathaniel Hackett is the offensive coordinator. It just made that game more interesting with the bulletin board material.
Hey, Jeremy.
Nathaniel Hackett is very far from the worst coach ever in the NFL. That would belong to Rod Marinelli.
Yeah.
0-16 Lions. Remember that? 2008? After a 4-win season the year before that and a 5-win season before that? That's atrocious. He wins. He's the worst coach ever in the NFL. Hands down. But Nathaniel might be a close second. I might have to throw Matt Patricia in between there.
Yeah, well, you talk about your version of the Three Stooges. You just named 3 of them. So go ahead. All right, George.
Well, I know a lot of people are upset about the Tigers and making one trade only. There's a lot of stuff that's being spewed out there about Scott Harris, but you know what? Give this man a break. I mean, he's new to the team. In fact, he didn't even sign Erod. That was a contract that Avila signed with Erod. That was before Scott Harris was hired. My problem is that Scott Harris never filled the position of general manager since he came here. I mean, come on now. How many months does it take you to find somebody? So the only thing I could figure out is he's got these 2 young guys that are assistant GMs. I'm guessing one of them will be promoted in the offseason to general manager. That being said, there were a lot of pitchers in Detroit, a lot of relief pitchers that I thought might get a look-see and might get traded, even Foley and Lang and Cisneros and some of those guys. I thought some of those bullpen guys might be looking for new work. But the other Tigers were pretty quiet. I mean, one trade only. They picked up this kid. You don't know if he's going to pan out. He's not bad. He's the number 5 prospect, like you said, Scott, in Philadelphia system. But come on, Tigers, you got to do more than that. You got to make some more moves. You got to build more depth on this team right now, and you certainly didn't do it today.
All right. Well, over the weekend, I had an opportunity to cover 2 of the 3 Miami Marlins, Detroit Tigers games. Okay. Went Friday night and went Sunday. Didn't go on Saturday, Venezuela night. So here's the thing. Okay. Number 1, the Marlins, that whole Miguel Cabrera weekend was extremely, extremely impressive the way this whole thing worked out. It was neat for me to renew old acquaintances, like seeing guys like Craig Monroe. The first thing I did when I saw Craig was we exchanged hugs like 2 people could. If that wasn't good enough, I have Rod Allen, my teammate here in Miami, who are former Tigers, now Marlins, okay? And the list goes on and on. But here's the thing, okay? The Miami Marlins drew 33,000 on Saturday, I believe 18,000 on Sunday and 15,000 on Friday. Not bad. The 33,000 turnout's really, really good. And the last time that they went out there and drew that many was back in 2017. Well, Marlins, you did get it right with Cabrera and that incredible weekend, and you were so lucky the man was healthy enough to play in all 3 games.
Yep.
But there's some unfinished business to do in Miami, okay? The Miami Marlins don't have a number retired. Miguel Cabrera's number should be the first one retired in Miami Marlins history, period. Forget about what the crowd will be because we know it's going to be good, okay? But to me, Miggy, your number should be retired and hanging at Lone Depot Park. One other comment I want to go ahead and get in here. And Jordan, maybe you can go ahead and answer this question from Harvey Burstein.
Did anyone get Mano Segura? I don't remember his name being thrown out, unless I'm wrong.
Yeah, from what the last I had heard is I believe the Marlins traded him to Cleveland, and then Cleveland's probably going to release him, is what I heard. So that was what I had heard. We'll check up on it, but I did read it. I was curious that Gene Segura finally got traded, and the Miami Marlins on their trade deadline day picked up some much needed hitting. So Harvey, thank you very much for bringing up Gene Segura's name. That's what I have. I hope that's good. Answers your question. Back to my concluding thought again. Miguel Cabrera's number needs to be retired, and it needs to be the first one in Marlins history to be retired. All right. With that said, okay, get ready to wrap up 108 Stitches baseball talk. All right, Jordan, go ahead and lead off.
Besides the fact that you can see me here at Tuesday nights on 108 Stitches, you can find me on my sports blog at sports-scoop.com. Of course, on Twitter at sports. I'm going to have a new show. Don't know what it's going to be called yet, but be sure for more details of that.
Now, I'll tell you what, every Tuesday night, Jordan will make sure you get updates of his new show. I wish you well with it, Jordan. Obviously, I know you'll give it everything you've got. All right, Jeremy, go ahead.
Well, I didn't realize that. I thought we were commenting on the parting shots. That's why I said what I said. Then you went to Georgia.
No, not anymore.
Crap. Okay.
But if there's one you want to comment now that you let the cat out of the bag, go ahead and do it.
haoyulee, who is batting .283 at AAA with a .372 slugging percentage and .401 OPS, is miles better than Javi Baez. Switch him out right now. Other than that, I am Jeremy Ballrick. I do write for the SouthFloridaTribune.com under the Motor City Tribune heading. I also am on any of the podcasts on the South Florida Tribune channel that Scott wants me to be on. And then I have my channel, which is Kneecap Biting with the Detroit Lions, which I have my NFL Roundtable Talks on Wednesday and my Lions Fan Cave Chat on Friday. And soon, Lions Talk with Jeremy Ballrick on Saturday.
All right, George, you have a book to promote, don't you?
Yeah, you're writing a book, Scott. I've already got one out there on Detroit sports broadcasting history. You can find a link to my book, or at least the way to purchase the book, at the end of my sports column, as Jeremy mentioned. I also write for the South Florida Tribune, the Motor City Tribune. Scott's in the book. In my book, he's got a great younger version of Scott interviewing Muhammad Ali and the great one, Jimmy Connors. Also, you can find me on 108 Stitches and Pigskin Show and Sports Exchange and wherever else Scott needs me. I'm looking forward to getting your comments. Give me any feedback at gicorn@yahoo.com or on Twitter at sangsports99. And also, you can send me an email or just find me online somewhere. Make a comment or question. We appreciate your participation too. I know our chat room wasn't too busy today, but I know most times it is. So we appreciate that stuff.
And those individuals that participate in the chat room, Michael Rango, Harvey Burstein, thank you very much. We appreciate you being on here with us tonight. One more time, the 108 Stitches Baseball Talk is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? Chat room's one way to do it, or send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me at 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website's www.southfloridatribune.com. Our Twitter information is at Tribune South. Candy Ebling is behind the scenes, putting up videos, putting up content, you name it. She's our MVP. Coming up later this summer, the Motor City Madmouth Show will be debuting on the Eagle Court Media Studios in Boca Raton, Florida, owned by Dr. Edwin Hernandez. We'll keep you posted. The Eagle Corp is a technology-based company for which I am the president of broadcasting for that particular place as well. So I enjoy doing double duty between the South Florida Tribune as well as the Eagle Corp. And, of course, the Eagle Corp will be helping me market my book, Adjusting to New Media. So great show, guys. Appreciate all your involvement tonight. And for those of you that are watching on the different platforms, whether it's YouTube or whatever, comments always encouraged, and we appreciate everybody out there. So meanwhile, on behalf of Jordan Long, Smoking Jeremy B., George Eichhorn, my name is Scott Morgan. We're out the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. We will catch you the next time. Good night, everybody.